And she said she had doubts about Taylor being pregnant. When she confronted Taylor about it, she said Taylor got mad and went silent and grabbed her own head and shook it, telling Stephanie she was thinking.
How far is a pathological liar willing to go to preserve their lies and keep up appearances? In Taylor Parker's case, she did something so cruel, it can only be described as evil. And when she was caught red-handed, she continued to lie. This is the shocking story of the woman who cut a baby out of her best friend to convince everyone she was the mom. It was the morning of October 9th, 2020, when the emergency services in New Boston, Texas received a horrifying call. Only screams could be heard. The dispatcher didn't pick up any words. As she waited, someone did speak. It was a woman, and she yelled, "I have a state trooper behind me, and I need an ambulance now." She was referring to the trooper Shavers, who had just come across the most disturbing sight in his life. He was doing his routine morning traffic checks when he noticed a Toyota Corolla sedan speeding down a highway and swerving from side to side. Clearly, the driver was a danger to themselves and others. Trooper Shavers chased and stopped the car. The driver's side was covered in blood. Her face and clothes were too, and when Trooper Shavers looked at her lap, he saw a newborn baby still and silent. Her umbilical cord was still attached. 29-year-old Taylor Parker screamed at the trooper to take her and her baby to the hospital. To this, Trooper Shavers asked how old the baby was, and Taylor said about 35 minutes. The dispatcher was still listening to this. She was confused. She'd just told her she was having a baby in the car, so which one was it? Also, Taylor insisted that she be taken to the Idabel Hospital, but there were two bigger, more prominent hospitals closer, Titus Regional and St. Michael's. Why was Taylor fixated on Idabel, which wasn't even in Texas, but in Oklahoma? When Trooper Shavers suggested he took them to St. Michael's, Taylor said no way. They hurt her last baby. Just then, an ambulance arrived. It was an ambulance that happened to drive past the car, noticed the blood and the distressed woman, and decided to lend a helping hand. The nurse in the ambulance, Amanda, rushed straight to the baby, only to get an immediate feeling that something was very off. The baby was clean. She was supposed to be covered in blood and vernix, but she'd been cleaned, so Taylor had not given birth in the car. Also, the area surrounding her mouth was blue and her skin was clammy. She was not in a good state. When she checked her pulse, she found none. At this point, the ambulance Taylor had called arrived at the scene too, and the EMT took the baby boy to rush him to the hospital. While this was happening, the EMT asked Taylor when she was due. Taylor said the 30th. The 30th of October, right? The baby was born prematurely? Amanda asked. To which Taylor responded, no, September 30th. This made no sense. Waiting over a week past the due date can result in horrific health problems for the mother and the baby. Taylor claimed she gave birth in her car while she was driving to Walmart. While Amanda and the new ambulance's EMT were looking at each other trying to figure out what to make of Taylor's story, Taylor demanded napkins and water. She wanted to get the blood off of her. While she cleaned herself, she started talking to herself. One of the things she mumbled was, "She's all over me." She wasn't talking about the baby, Braxlyn Sage Hancock. She was talking about her mother, her actual mother. She carved her out of her belly that morning. Braxlyn would be pronounced dead on arrival at the hospital. The homicide investigation started with Taylor's complicated history. Taylor Parker had 2 children, a daughter and a son, with 2 different fathers, but neither of the kids lived with her. She had divorced her son's dad and married another man named Hunter. But Hunter was also unhappy in the relationship with Taylor, and the two got a divorce in April 2019. Weeks later, she started dating a man named Wade Griffin. Their relationship, much like all of Taylor's previous relationships, was a whirlwind. Within a few weeks, they spoke of moving in together and even marriage. At one point, Taylor told Wade she had a confession to make. She was pregnant for a bit, but she had had a miscarriage. This information made Wade care for Taylor more deeply. The protector instinct kicked in. But Wade wasn't convinced that he wanted to spend his life with Taylor. And every time he pulled away, Taylor surprised him with one more bombshell. Just like that miscarriage, which was never proven. One time she told him that she was inheriting millions of dollars of oil and gas royalties. Then she told him her mom, Shauna, had ordered a hit on her. Scared for her safety, Taylor asked her boyfriend to let her move in with him. She would be safer there, she said. So Wade obliged. But the more he discovered Taylor, the more doubts he had about their relationship. Before long, Taylor also told Wade that her mom was hacking into their phones and that she had ties to the Mexican mafia. She also convinced Wade to expand his hog business and take loans to buy trucks and cows. She promised she would pay him back once she would inherit her millions, and he believed her. It was Wade's family who raised the alarms. They saw their son wasn't as enthused about Taylor as the other way around. When Wade's parents asked Taylor why she did not have custody of her 2 kids, she couldn't answer. And when they asked her when she was going to inherit her oil and gas money, she said, "Any day now." Taylor felt she was losing Wade, so she decided to impress his family this time. She made a deal to buy a $4 million land for herself, Wade, and his parents, who were fans of hunting and ducks. This land would prove perfect for their hobby, she said. But wait, how could she afford this? She didn't. To the owner, Rusty, she said she was an heiress to a famous syrup company, and she would get a wire transfer soon. She gave him $250,000 checks. Then she asked for the checks back, claiming there was a problem or that she needed the money for something else first. As Rusty grew suspicious about Taylor's ability to pay, he began pressing her to see proof that she had the $4 million. So Taylor invented another character, Uncle Butch. Then she handed Rusty falsified documents claiming Taylor would get oil and gas royalties from her grandfather. When Rusty pressed harder with emails and requests, Taylor started accusing him of not trusting her and said she was offended that he would ask an heiress to verify her funds. And when the lies got too hard for her to keep up, Taylor told Wade the deal was off. She'd been lied to by her mom. Uncle Butch, the oil and gas royalties, and the syrup company were all her mother's inventions. Wait, the same mom who had ties to the Mexican mafia and had put a hit on her was now lying to her about inheriting millions? Yeah. And Wade still stuck with her. But just as he was pulling away and Taylor felt she was losing him, she made another big announcement. She was pregnant. She even posted a picture of herself on Instagram, earning lots of likes and congratulations comments. Taylor said she was due September 22nd, not the 30th as she had told the officers. But when she confided in her friend Angela about this, Angela was confused. Taylor had told her she'd had a hysterectomy before. But when Angela confronted her with this, Taylor said she was definitely pregnant. She could not explain it scientifically. It must have been God. In April of 2020, she even sent Angela a pregnancy confirmation. But Angela read it carefully and the confirmation said that the nurse was pregnant, the same nurse who wrote the confirmation. When Angela asked her about this, Taylor got defensive. She said this was her evil mother's doing. Every time Taylor was caught in her web of lies, she blamed it on her mom. Except Taylor had told Angela that her mom had taken her own life. So, yeah. Taylor was a compulsive liar, and everyone around her was pulling away. Even Wade's mom doubted that Taylor was pregnant. So Taylor hosted a big gender reveal party and proudly announced she and Wade would have a baby girl named Clancy Gale. She ordered several baby items through the summer of 2020, created a baby registry, and flooded her Instagram with pictures of her belly. Her registry said she was due September 28th, yet another date. On July 2nd, she wrote the following: "Prayers needed for Clancy Gale and me today. Lots of doctor's appointments and scans." Sounded like she had some medical issues. Taylor got a lot of attention that day. People wanted to know if she was okay and what was happening, but she didn't reveal much. Then, 1 month later, she did a maternity photo shoot with Wade. All was well apparently, but by now, even Wade was suspicious. However, every time he tried phoning the clinic or attending Taylor's appointments, he was not allowed to come. This was in the middle of the COVID pandemic and visitors were off limits. Information on the appointments was also confidential, so Wade could not even confirm his girlfriend was pregnant. By the end of August 2020, he told Taylor he was not in love with her and he did not want the baby with her, if she was, in fact, pregnant. But on September 15th, her ex and her baby daddy, Tommy, sent Wade a message. He learned about Taylor's lie and she was using her son's sonograms to fake the pregnancy. When Wade confronted her with this, Taylor said Tommy was bitter and was just trying to ruin her life, just like her mom. That day, Taylor decided to prove everyone wrong. She was going to get her baby from someone who was actually pregnant. Reagan Simmons Hancock was 21 and pregnant. She already had a 3-year-old daughter, and she was excited to bring her a little sister. Reagan had gotten married to her second baby daddy about a year before, and Taylor was the wedding photographer. She even recommended Taylor on social media. She's just the best, duh. The two exchanged social media accounts before Reagan's wedding, and they remained online friends ever since. Over the summer, they enthused about having babies at the same time, except none of that was going to happen. On September 30th, Taylor turned up at her appointment only to break down crying. She said her soldier husband had just died, and her mom was ghosting her. She couldn't go through with the checkup. She even declined a free sonogram to the nurse's shock. Around the same time, Wade's house caught fire, and the couple moved in with his mom, Connie. And yeah, remember this fire. Connie, of course, asked Taylor when she was going to give birth. She was clearly overdue. Taylor said she was going to be induced that day, but there was a bomb threat at the hospital, so it was canceled. It was one bombshell after another with Taylor, and Connie couldn't take any more lies. She told her son he needed to break up with her unless he wanted to lose his job. Wade indeed did not want to be with Taylor anymore, but he wanted to stick around for the baby, and he hated how his mother talked to him. The next morning, on October 8th, Taylor turned up at Reagan's home. She brought a gift for her unborn baby and some Starbucks coffee. She left in the evening, after which Reagan gushed over their get-together. "So glad to see you today. I missed you bunches. Also, thank you for the sweet gift and Starbucks." Taylor replied, "You are so welcome. Glad you got your gift. Can't wait to see her in them. We need more girl days like today." Reagan seemed like Taylor's best friend. Angela had distanced herself from Taylor and Wade, and his family were also having doubts. On the morning of October 9th, Taylor told Wade that she was going to the hospital for her induction. A few hours later, Wade would be called by the authorities. His wife was arrested on suspicion of murder. At 8:30 a.m. that day, Reagan's phone texted her husband, Homer, saying she just wants to be happy, along with other strange messages. Homer was concerned. This sounded nothing like his wife. They texted back and forth for a bit, after which Homer wrote, "I love you." Reagan never responded. An hour later, Homer and Reagan's neighbor sent him a message saying their puppy had escaped their house. Homer immediately called Reagan, but there was no answer to any of his 6 calls. So Homer called Reagan's mom, Jessica, to drive over and check on his wife. When she arrived at 10:15 a.m., she found her daughter's lifeless body face down in a large red puddle. She phoned 911 screaming her daughter had been murdered. This was happening 45 minutes after Taylor had phoned 911, begging them to send over an ambulance, as she had given birth in the car. On the call, Jessica could be heard asking her husband to check on her 3-year-old granddaughter. Remember Reagan had a daughter? Yeah. She was there when it all happened. She was physically unharmed, but it's hard to grasp the emotional scar this event left on her forever. When the paramedics arrived, they turned Reagan over. That's when they discovered her belly had been carved open and her baby stolen. She was covered in jag marks and her hands had several defense wounds. She had fought for her and her baby's life until her very last breath. But whoever had done this to her attacked her like a pack of rabid dogs. There was no escape. There were signs of the attack, blood, hair, red handprints everywhere around the house, from the kitchen to the living room to the garage, where Reagan was found. Reagan had been hit with a gift jar from their wedding day so hard, she wore its full bottom print on her forehead. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Taylor was given a medical examination. The doctors confirmed she did not have a cervix and she did not give birth that day. You can imagine the shock when the detectives at Reagan's house contacted the detectives at Taylor's hospital. The horror story was finally coming together. No matter how much evidence was brought against Taylor, she insisted that she had given birth to the stillborn girl. What's even more heartbreaking, Braxton would have survived were it not for a lack of oxygen. Taylor was taken to the county jail and charged with capital murder. By now, her case had shocked an entire country. People wanted to see her hang for this. During Taylor's trial, several of her former friends testified against her.
Bowie County, a former close friend of convicted killer Taylor Parker, describes a heart-pounding encounter as testimony continues in the penalty phase of the trial.
One thing was clear. Taylor had always been an aggressive, pathological liar. One of the friends was a woman named Stephanie who helped throw Taylor's gender reveal party.
And she said she had doubts about Taylor being pregnant. When she confronted Taylor about it, she said Taylor got mad and went silent and grabbed her own head and shook it, telling Stephanie she was thinking. That scared Stephanie to the point where her heart was racing and she grabbed a knife, and then Taylor asked why. Stephanie described the way Parker was looking at her as a dead stare.
Wade's mom, Connie, also testified to the million lies she'd caught Taylor in over the last year and a half. And Taylor's mom was there too. Not an evil, plotting, Mexican, mob-tied mom, but a normal woman who was shocked to learn what her daughter had done. She revealed that Taylor lost custody of her 2 children after leaving them home alone as babies or passing them around to all her friends while she was out and about. And yes, during the trial, it was also revealed that Taylor had set fire to Wade's house, a minor distraction to make them forget she was not having a baby. It didn't take the jury long to reach a verdict. Just 90 minutes. Taylor Parker was sentenced to death. For Reagan's family, this was the only reasonable outcome.
A heavy burden feels lifted. I feel like now we can start trying to heal. We don't have this over our heads. We know where she's going to be, we know where she's at, and she's taken care of.
Taylor will die in prison, and Reagan's family can, like Jessica said, try to heal. Wade and his family can also try and understand how she could do this. But it will forever be a shock that she went this far to preserve a lie. Thanks for watching, you guys. What do you think about this case? Do you know similar stories? Let me know in a comment, and before you go, make sure you click those like and subscribe buttons. See you next time.